गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीबडी। थैंक यू फॉर जॉइनिंग इन टुडे। आज से हम लोग स्टार्ट करेंगे अपना एथिक्स का सिलेबस, ठीक है ना। सो इन दिस वी विल बी कवरिंग ऑल द एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ ethics, that is answer practice, covering of the whole syllabus, and also doing the case studies. So we will be looking at the whole gamut of ethics GS paper for mains. Okay, so this presentation is not specific to any one type of group. That is either even 2021, 22, 23, all students are welcome to watch it, and they can gain as much as possible from this presentation. Okay. Now, before I actually begin with the course of ethics syllabus, ethics subjects, I want you all to quickly check the syllabus. So why I want you all to see the syllabus is because it is the most important thing that you would need to do. Okay, first you should be acquainted with what the syllabus is actually demanding you to do. Okay, now once you know it, you will also understand the kind of questions we post in the group. So every day you see that there are certain code-based questions. There are certain, term-based questions when we ask you certain concepts like emotional intelligence, then ethics in governance, ethics in administration, importance of ethics in civil services. So things like this we keep on asking you. But have you ever thought that what part of the syllabus is it like catering to? So for that, you must first of all read the syllabus and understand what exactly it is. So I will quickly tell you, I will quickly read out some of the important aspects of it, and then I want you all to go through it on your own. Okay. So the general studies paper 4, that is the ethics, integrity and aptitude paper. It will be of 250 marks. Okay, in which half of the paper comprises of the theory based question, and half of it comprises of the case studies. Okay, now the questions actually in this paper will deal with testing the candidate's attitude and approach to the issues. Okay, which are like related to integrity, and then probity in public life, etc. So these kind of values are actually tested. So the reason why ethics paper as a whole was introduced, uske piche bhi there was certain reason, because before 2014 there was no subject as ethics. There was only like two optional that we had to take, and then some general studies subjects that we were supposed to do. But this introduction of ethics as a paper, it is whole new a new concept that UPSC adopted. So there were certain reasons behind it, जैसे कि ethics को सबसे पहले मतलब it was considered that whatever law is, okay, law is right. Whatever it is written in law, it is ethical. It was thought like this. But this concept of law being ethical and law being always right, it is now outdated. So there becomes an importance that as civil servants need to be acquainted with what is ethics and what is ethically right. And there were certain also related things like there I mean whatever. See, ethics में जब हमने देखा कि लॉ और एथिक्स दोनों अलग चीज है, यू कैन एक्चुअली मेक लॉज विच आर नॉट एथिकल ऑल्सो, ठीक है, एंड देयर कैन बी लॉज विच आर एथिकल ऑल्सो. सो दैट इज वाई दिस कॉन्सेप्ट, दिस वेरियन कॉन्सेप्ट दैट वाज फॉलोड पहले, it was considered outdated. So now ethics was made important for the aspirants to study. Then we have also seen that certain values are important for decision making. Now what kind of values like integrity, okay, it is important for any civil servant. Okay, values like probity, very important, you should stick to your value system, fine. Then things like transparency, fine. Then responsibility, then you must also be accountable. So things like this, principles like this, they are very important in any of the decision making of a civil servant. Why it is important? Because we are answerable to the people who are actually the real power holders. They decide what is supposed to be done in the country. They and if you see, we are a democratic country. So in a democracy, it is the government by the people, of the people, and for the people. So we need to be accountable to our people. We need to, ensure that we are serving them well. And how will we serve them well? If we have high standards of integrity, if we are following probity in our approach, and if how are you going to be accountable enough? By ensuring that whatever you're doing in this whole gamut of your public services, you should be transparent, you should be answerable, you should have like answers to everything that you're doing. You should have like valid reasons for the things that you are going to do in your services. Along with that, you must also take responsibility of the steps that you take. So here, that is why ethics as a subject for us who are like aspirants, it is very important, and that is why it was introduced. Fine. Now, you've seen that there have been various scandals. There was a Watergate scandal that happened in US, and in India also you've seen that 2G scam. There are so many scams that have happened. There has been Colgate scam. So in order to overcome that, ethics has now come to center stage. Then also we've seen that there are so many rising cases of corruption in civil services, right? So to actually tackle that, it is important that our budding civil servants and new recruits, they should have high level of ethical values in them, so that these cases of corruption, they could be tackled. Fine. Now it is also like, again, it was also recommended by certain committees, something like Hota committee, it recommended to introduce this particular subject for to be tested for the students. So there comes the importance of ethics. That is why we need to study ethics. It was introduced only to tackle these kind of problems that was being faced in certain countries, including India. Now let's see the syllabus, what the syllabus is. Now the syllabus says the first point is ethics and human interface. Second point says human values. Third point is attitude. Fourth, now the fourth point is aptitude and foundational values of civil services. Then is emotional intelligence. Next is the contribution of moral thinkers and
Ma'am,
philosophers.
slide is not available, ma'am. Not visible, ma'am. Slide is not visible.
Slide is not visible, but slide is right in front of you. Please kindly check your.
Slide is visible. You just need to check your network connection.
Okay, great. So I'll continue. Contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and world. Next point is your public services or civil services values and ethics in public administration. Then we talk about probity and governance, and in the end, it says case studies on above issues. So case studies is basically the applied ethics. So we have to apply whatever we are studying in all these topics that I just mentioned, and then we have to write our answers accordingly. So case studies, yes, once like we will be covering case studies also, but we'll go in a very different way. Once we cover one specific topic, we will actually go on to the case study part. Now, can I hope you know what ethics is. Now, the first and foremost, goal of ethics is to achieve happiness. Okay, we whatever we do right or what we do wrong, it is ultimately to achieve an end goal of being happy. Now, what is happy? Now, it says, Aristotle says, to be happy in life, you must be ethical. And the Lama says, the purpose of life is to be happy. So if all these thinkers, they've been talking about ethical life and being happy at one point, they are the same things. If you are ethical, then you lead a happy life, and if you are happy, then yes, you might have been leading an ethical life. So let's just first of all see what really happiness is. So happiness is an essential state of well-being that is defined by positive pleasures, pleasant emotions like joy, contentment, and pride. So can anybody of you tell me why, what happiness is for you, like in your terms? Can anybody answer me this? Peaceful satisfaction. Yes. Okay. Does anybody feel happy while eating an ice cream? Eating ice cream is happiness. Playing football in the evening is happiness. Some people find gymming and exercising at the start of their very day happy. So that is happiness for them. Some, like for children, even a small candy, a 50 paisa candy is happiness. Doing what we like, state of being free. I feel happy.
Happiness, happiness lies in what we want to do immediately without affecting larger public interest, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. So happiness is actually different for everybody. Happiness has a very different definition for each and every person. So you never know what is happy. So from my perspective, I may be happy teaching you all, and from your perspective, you may be happy receiving this lecture today. You must be happy that yes, we are starting to cover our ethics syllabus. Some people might be happy after covering the daily targets. So happiness is that state where you actually feel positive about something, where you actually feel satisfied with something. Yes, even watching, yes, even watching India win against England, and yes, gold yesterday. It is actually it depends upon your own perspective what happiness is. Now we can see happiness with two viewpoints also. These are like, one is the short term and the other one is a long term. So what is a short term? That is an outward thing, like eating ice cream, watching television screen, watching something funny on the TV, then India getting gold. So these are like short term outward happiness. Now what we are concerned about is the inward happiness. What is an inward or a long term happiness? Now, with this, I mean that you are self-content in your mind. You have reached a point in life where you are satisfied. You are content. You don't want anything. Now, how that state of mind comes? Like I said, we are concerned about long-term happiness. Now, how it comes? It comes by leading an ethical life. I'll tell you how. We've seen people like Osama bin Laden. We've seen people like Harshad Mehta. Okay, we've seen people like them. But were they really happy inside their, mind? Were they really happy? They might be struggling with things like this. I'm sorry. Uh, so they might be, having some problems at the back of their mind, oh my God, I've done something wrong. And they might be having like sleepless nights. How am I going to cover up my this thing? Then there might be like people like scamsters. There are certain, dishonest officers or corrupt officers. They earn a lot of money, but they want to save the tax. So do you think people like them, will they be like happy from their for the rest of the life? Do they have that inward happiness? I assume no, because their life is full of lies, corruption, and they're just whatever they're doing, it's not right. So somewhere they are guilty conscious all the time. So that actually curbs their happiness. That is not letting them be happy to the fullest. So for a long term or an inward happiness, we ought to have an ethical life. We should be honest. We should be doing right. We should be like good to people. So, yes, by leading a fake life, we might never be very happy. We might just have short term happiness in terms of money that we are earning. We might buy all the pleasures in the world, but we might not be able to get the inward or the happiness forever. Excuse me for a while, please. Yes. So, like I said, leading fake lives, it is not going to give you an inward happiness. You ought to be like true to your own self. Your conscience should be clean. Okay. So, we are looking at a long term ethical life to have happiness. Okay. Now, so that is why it is called the experience of joy, contentment, of positive well-being, combined with a sense that one's life is good. So if you have the sense that one's life is good, you will automatically lead a happy and an ethical life. Now today, if you are, if you are today planning to be a civil servant, uh, if you are wanting to become, a public servant in coming few years or maybe next year, then you should like think for yourself what is going to make you happy. Is it like the money that you're looking at, or is it at the, serving the nation that you're looking at? If you're looking at this particular profile as a money minting job, then I feel that you may never lead a happy, satisfied life, even after doing so much, so much effort, so much hard work for this. So, yeah, so this is what happiness is. So, yes, it is quite correctly said that if you want to lead a happy life, you ought to be ethical. So, will you now be able to solve quotes? This is how we actually, apply our theoretical knowledge for answering the code based question. Fine. I'll just see, Nikita. Okay. Yes, truly said. So I hope everybody now understands why I picked up happiness right in the beginning of this course. Okay, so it is of quite importance to us for the aspirants. So yes, please make a note of all this if anybody wants to do, and then I'll move ahead in about 30 seconds now. Please make a note. If you want, I can also share the PPT with you guys. Yes, I will share the PPT in the group. Okay, great. So we'll move further now. So I have a very small story that I'll, now tell you guys about Kisa Gautami and Buddha. So Kisa Gautami, she was a woman. She had a child and she was married early. Then she had a child, and she was quite happy. And one fine day, her child falls sick, and ultimately he dies before, which she was not expecting. So she was like holding her child all the time, and she was praying. She was going to every priest in the village, and she was asking them to make her child come alive again. So she was not stopping. She wanted her son to come back. She loved him so much. Then she happened to meet Gautam Buddha. Now Buddha told her, she again, she made the same request to Buddha that, please make my son come to life again. So Buddha told her that, yes, I will do it. I will bring your son to life again. But I have one condition. You have to bring me some, seeds in your palm from a house where nobody has died. This gave Kisa Gautami some. Yes. Mustard seeds, yes, Mani. So he asked her to get mustard seeds from a house where nobody has died. Now Kisa Gautami got some hope that, I'll go somewhere and I'll find it. She went to every possible home that she can. She tried her best, but wherever she went, she found out that somebody or the other has died in the family. So she understood that this life and death, they are inevitable parts. So whosoever has taken birth is going to ultimately die, right? So she understood. Then she buried her son, and then she moved on with the life. So what this story is telling us, that our desires, our wants, they actually lead us to something that, gives us unhappiness. This is what Buddha also said. And happiness and our sorrow are connected with our desire. So if a human is able to control or come over their desire, they would be able to come over their sorrow also. Fine. So this was the reason why I told you your desires, your passion in the life, they are going to give you so many things that you want to do. Your desire is going to make you ask for more and more again. It may lead to dissatisfaction. Some of the things may come true, but most of them, they might not. So, in order for you to stay happy, you must have control over your desires. Okay, so this was one of the thought that I wanted to share with you from the life of Buddha. Fine. So this thing you can actually use in your exam also while solving certain case studies or some things like that. So you can write these kind of philosophical examples also in your answer. Now, I've been talking why is it important for us to be happy? Why is happiness so important for us? Oh, this is like quite proven fact. This has been proven by many studies that people who are happy, they have increased satisfaction in their life. They tend to lead a longer and a healthy life. Their body is much more healthier if they are happy. It leads to less stress, and also it is linked to better health and longevity. Fine. It increases your resilience also. You are actually able to manage your stress, and then even if you've had certain setbacks, you're able to bounce back even faster. A person who is unhappy, already depressed, they might even go deeper into depression. They might not be able to manage their emotions properly. So happiness is very important for a civil servant to actually manage their emotions, thus leading to emotional intelligence. Now, this is a new term. This is also a very important section of the syllabus. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Happiness is directly linked to your emotional intelligence. What is it? Emotional intelligence is understanding your emotions as well as emotions of the other people. Understanding, controlling, and using your emotions in order to achieve your own targets, your own goals. That is emotional intelligence. Okay, so now that we know it, you would easily understand that how important emotional intelligence is for a civil servant. So directly to it, it is also important for a civil servant to be happy, and if a civil servant wants to be happy, he ought to be ethical. Fine. Am I making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So now we are going to move on to our next slide. Now we come to the actual topic. What is ethics? So these are few definitions that I've noted. Okay. So why I've always, I check the papers which you guys send across to me. I check papers. I've read most of you all have sent answers, and I've read them. I've marked them. I've given you, comments also. You might always be seeing in the introduction, write a specific definition. So when it comes to ethics as a paper, we must be thorough with our definitions of ethics, definition of emotional intelligence, attitude, aptitude, probity, integrity, transparency, accountability, responsibility. So you must know the definition of all these terms that appear in the syllabus. Okay, now again, ethics is a very important term because this is the sole, the whole thing. This is the subject we need to study, and this is the subject we need to learn, and we should know a very specific to the point definition. So if you see, I've written it's a normative science. Why it is a normative science? Because it is based on certain norms. Okay, so you have to, a person, and as an individual has to follow certain norms in order to be ethical. Okay, so that is why it's a normative science. Then if you look at the definition, quickly learn it with me. Quickly learn it with me, make sections. It is a systematic study of what? Human actions. Then what is the point of view? Their rightfulness and wrongfulness as a means for attainment of the ultimate happiness. So it has three parts. That it is a systemic study of human actions from the point of view of their rightfulness and wrongfulness as a means for attainment of ultimate happiness. Ultimate happiness is the end. Okay, that is happiness. Hamara end, what we are supposed to or what we ought to achieve is happiness in life. Fine. Now, there is a theory which says means and ends. There's a theory as means and end. You guys should pull that up and read about this means and end theory. It is important, but I'll not take this theory today, but we'll do it at some other point in time. But you must know this. Okay. It also says, ethics says it's a moral philosophy of right and wrong human conduct, and it is a set of standards. Like I said, it's a normative science. So here I've mentioned that it's a set of standards which the society places on itself and guides the behavior, choice, and action. So guys, if I ask you a question to write that what is ethics and mention its importance in civil services or public administration, okay, so right in the beginning, the question is demanding you to write a very brief definition of ethics. Either you write a systemic study of human actions, okay, or you can write a definition like ethics is a set of standards which society places on itself. So you ought to write a very specific, small, and a brief definition, and that's it. End your introduction. Your introduction should not go beyond 20 to 30 words if it is a 150 word question that is being asked, and if it is a 250 word question, then you can write about like 30 to 35 words. Fine. Now if you see here, this definition is quite small. Okay, you can also mention certain examples if you feel like from real life. Okay, like mentioning people like Gautam Buddha. You can also mention quote by we just read one quote by Aristotle. Okay, what he meant by ethics. You can mention things like that in example also, and these examples you must ensure that they are within the word limit. Don't just keep writing stories. Stories are not going to give you marks. Yes, UPSC demands you to write lucid answers, but that doesn't mean you'll write examples from like a layman. Don't go by writing like a layman. Don't just write stories like that. Okay, you must try to write specific and solid points in your answer. Fine. So are we through with the definition part? I hope most of you have remembered it. I hope you remember it now. Okay, so yeah, then now I'm going to move ahead. Great. So guys, always make sure that whenever you are writing the definitions, writing the introductions, make sure that you keep it precise. That is the only point that I want to stress here, and I'll move ahead. Now, we read in the last slide that it guides the behavior. Then it also said that it is a moral philosophy of human conduct. Now, what is human conduct? We all know what is human conduct. I mean, like a layman. Anyone, you can speak. Yes.
Ma'am, the way we behave, I mean, into any situation, we react or respond, the way we behave.
Yes. So it is, in a layman's language, yes, it is the way we behave. Now, it is actually way we behave, and those actions are what? Deliberate actions. They are the collective name given to any deliberate. Now, I am saying I've written deliberative. This is important. Please make a note of it. We are going to talk a lot about it today. Deliberative voluntary actions. Okay. Now, there are two kinds of actions. Human conduct consists of two kinds of actions. They are human actions and actions of human. Okay, very confusing. Must be looking very confusing, but it's simple. Actions of human and human actions. Let's just quickly see what these two things are. Now, first we'll see actions of humans. Very simple to understand. These are involuntary activities. They happen even without our efforts. blood is circulating, heart is beating. Okay, we don't have any control over these actions. Very simple to understand, very simple concept. Okay, so this is the actions of human. They are actually similar with the animals. Animals' heart is also beating, their blood is also circulating. We don't have control over it, neither the animals have it. So this is one thing that we are sharing with the animals. Fine. They are involuntary, and thus humans are not morally responsible for them. Fine. So if we are putting, if we are checking our, that conduct, our beating of the heart, if we are asking about it, if it is an ethical or an unethical behavior, then I'm sorry, we cannot judge it. Why? Because it is an involuntary action that our body is taking. We have no control over it.
Ma'am,
Yes, involuntary actions
sorry to
won't.
interrupt you, ma'am. I have it out.
Yes.
Ma'am, what are those actions? I missed that part. What are those actions that we share with animals? Like, does hunger, those also called as actions?
See, things like blood circulation, heartbeat, the feeling of being hungry, urge to drink water, things like this, we have no control over it. But yes, to a certain extent, we can control our hunger, we can control our, our thirst. We can do that when we fast. So this is something that we don't share, but these are like bodily functions, internal body functions. They are considered as involuntary, and that is what we share with the animals. Fine. So this was actions of human which are involuntary in nature and for which humans are not morally responsible. They are not judged morally for them. Fine. Now we look at the human actions. Now what is human actions? Human actions proceed from knowledge and consent of free will. Fine. That means that, if I am teaching you, this is my consent. I know what are the consequences of teaching a group of students. So I know this. This is my human action. I am doing it deliberately. Fine. I know about it. I do it deliberately. I know what is the end goal, and that is why I'm doing it. So this conduct can be judged based on ethical values. Okay, on ethical standards. This action can be judged. Fine. These actions, human actions, are judged on ethical standards. Why? Because it includes knowledge, a consent of free will. Okay. So if a person is like aware of everything, so if I ask you all to write answers, okay, you know what is the end goal? You're going to have a better understanding of concept. Okay. Just give me a minute, guys. Okay, now if I okay, where was I? Yes, now that I told you that you need to write answers. Fine, you know what is the end result of it. You know that you will end up improving your answer writing skill. You will also have better chances of gaining good marks in your mains examination. So if you are doing that, that means you are fulfilling your responsibility. So that action would be considered ethically correct. That action would be judged if it is ethically correct or not. So let's say if you are like going to a market, you group of people, you go like you and your friend, and your friend goes into a shop and he sees something very nice and the salesperson is not looking at it, right? And he flicks it, keeps it in the pocket and not pay it. So would you consider that an ethical behavior or an unethical behavior? That person knew that this is stealing. Okay, I'm not paying for it, for which I should pay, and still he keeps that thing in his pocket, in his or her pocket. So that is like straight away stealing something, and stealing is never ethical. So things like that, we have certain officers who know that, if they are, taking a decision under the influence of, some leader, or maybe for the want of extra money, they are taking that decision even after knowing that it is incorrect, or it is wrong, and it is corrupt. Then also they're doing it, they're ethically wrong. Fine. So these actions, for which we know what is going to happen, and we are doing it with our own consent and free will, they are judged, and they are called human actions. Okay. So if you just read through this, I've written most of it here. If the action is involuntary in character, voluntary in character, this human person under consideration would have done it differently if he or she is willed. So deliberately doing of an act actually would lead to your behavior being ethical or unethical. Okay. Now also, if we just move to the next slide, you will see what are the constituents or the elements of a human action. Now, human action, just read it once and then I'll move, because I'll go fast with it. We have less time left now.
Ma'am, this deliberately will come under human action.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Now, elements. I said, what are the elements of human action? These are some things, they are internal things that actually generate a person to do it. Okay. Again, taking an example of an officer who signs a file for their own good or their own benefit. So he must have got something in his mind that, I need that extra money, I need that luxury. It might have been, out of his, a desire to have a better, lifestyle, that person did it. So it was from his own, inner sense or inner conscience that he did that action deliberately, that this person undertook that action. Okay. But for any action to be taken, knowledge forms a very important part of it, and this is what Thomas Aquinas has also discussed, that knowledge is essential part of an action for any human to take. An action must be voluntary. So these two things, knowledge and free will, the voluntariness and the knowledge, the knowing of your deed and the end result, it is very important for any of the action, for any of the human actions. Okay. So these two things must be there: intellectual element or the knowledge element, and volitive element, that is the free will and voluntariness. So quickly just read through it, I'll move ahead. Now let's just, read something about knowledge. So knowledge is actually knowing. So in simple term, it is knowing about something. It is like you know in and out of a thing. What is the consequence? What is going to be the end result? Okay. If I do something, yes, Nikita.
Ma'am, will knowledge be enough? Because if we go by this principle, then everyone who is educated or literate or is at a higher authority will behave in a manner which we can call like ethical, but that we cannot see that happening, right? So is knowledge sufficient? I mean, I think it's just one of the factors, the entire thing.
See, with knowledge, I'm not saying it is bookish knowledge. Okay. So this knowledge, you see as like knowing the facts. Okay. So it is not how well educated you are or not. Or you can be like anybody. Like if you can talk about an uneducated person, right? So if that person thinks that stealing is bad, stealing, if that person thinks stealing is bad, he won't steal. But at the same time, if he thinks that stealing is right, even if knowing that, मैंने अगर चोरी की, I would be arrested and I would face the jail and consequences, then also he's doing it. So knowing the consequences, knowing the end thing, knowing the, the end result, even if you're doing it, then that is what I was referring to. So the knowledge is knowing the end result, knowing the conclusion of what you're doing. Okay.
But knowing the conclusion, ma'am?
Yes.
So if we know the conclusion, then there's an element of fear also, right?
Yeah, we will come to that. We will come to that.
So is it introspection or just the knowledge of the outcome?
Okay, Nikita, it is introspection and the outcome both. Fine. So, okay, now I tell you, I'll tell you, I'll ask you something. So, if I tell you, Nikita, go and pick this shop, I mean, pick this stuff from the shop and don't pay and just, escape smartly. Are you going to do that?
No,
Why?
because I don't do that usually.
Why don't you
I
do
don't
that
like
usually?
doing it
No, why don't you do that
because
usually?
I think it's wrong that I'm cheating someone
Exactly.
of
So that
their
is the
neighbor.
knowledge. So that is the knowledge of, that particular act, that particular task I gave you. That is why you're not doing it. Yeah, so you understand what knowledge here is. It's not the bookish knowledge. I'm not talking about the PhD degrees or maybe MBAs or other learned persons like scientists and all. There are there are learned people who do wrong things. There is a big example of Osama bin Laden. He was very educated. He was an engineer. Then also he created bombs, right? So it is
I
not
understood.
that. Yeah, so it is not the bookish knowledge. I'm not talking about the degrees. I am talking about just the general understanding of the consequence of your whatever act you are taking. Fine. So this is what I'm referring here.
Okay,
Not
thank you, ma'am.
exactly. Yeah, thank you. So it is not exactly the ethical perspective, Monu, but the general thing. अगर मैंने एक बॉम्ब बनाया और मैंने उसको डेटोनेट करने के लिए एक स्कूल में छोड़ दिया, कोई मेरे ऊपर शक नहीं करेगा, बट मुझे आतंक फैलाना है. If I want to spread violence around, I just created a bomb and I want to have fun. Maybe that is giving me happiness, but that is incorrect, right? So I have the knowledge that if I am caught, I will be put in jail and I would be tried under so many various terrorist acts, but still I'm doing it. That is called like the knowledge of your consequence, the knowledge of the consequences of your action. Okay, so that is where I am ethically incorrect. If I am taking money to do a task which I'm supposed to do as a public welfare, if I'm taking money for that thing also, then that ways I am ethically incorrect. Fine. So this is what I'm telling you. So the knowledge here is the general understanding of the consequences of your action.
Can I give you an example?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's asking, just a second. Yeah, he's asking about knowledge related to ethical perspective. So that knowledge, you understand that something which is inherent, that thing. Okay, so that is basically knowledge. That when you grow up, so you start knowing what is right, what is wrong. That is your knowledge. Okay, the knowledge of right and wrong. And it goes for ethics. When you know this thing is right, then you're ethical. When you know this thing is wrong, so same thing ma'am told that. I'll give you one more example. Say for example, you plan to murder someone. All right, so you know what is the consequence, that the person will die, and ethics says that you don't have to kill anyone, right? So if you are killing someone, then knowingly you are killing that person. So I mean, here you have knowledge, but you are being unethical. So that's how you can connect things. That's what I wanted to tell. Yeah, thanks.
That's absolutely right what Rahul sir mentioned here. Now, at the same time, if a person is of an unsound mind and then he commits a crime or maybe kills somebody, then he might not be seen as a person who has taken a knowledgeable action. So he was not aware, he or she was not aware of what they have done in their, unsound mind status. And that is why, if you've seen, most of the constitutional positions have this provision that the person is of sound mind. If he is not of sound mind, then that person is ineligible and can be removed from that office. Fine. So these are the things. So knowledge is actually important for a person to undertake some good actions, a human conduct. This knowledge becomes an important element of a human conduct. Fine. For for self-defense, it's not. It would not be judged as unethical act or ethical act. Okay, now I'll just move ahead. In knowledge, also in the process of knowledge, there are three conditions. Fine. First thing, you should have adequate knowledge about whatever the object is, your aspired object. Then you must give attention to the action and also judgment on the value of the act. Fine. Now, if I say, like I mentioned it to Nikita, that I want you to go into a shop and pick something and not pay for it and escape quietly. Okay, now she had adequate knowledge that no, I can't do that because it is practically a crime. Fine. If I'm caught stealing, then I might be punished. I might be punished. I might be punished. Okay. Then next thing is, then you have to pay the attention to your action also. No, this is wrong. If I'm stealing, I'm doing wrong to the shopkeeper also. That is reducing their the revenue. And third thing, the judgment on the value of the act. This is ethically incorrect. You must know about all this. So this is the three important conditions of knowledge. Yes, Rahul sir. Yes. Rahul
Yeah.
sir. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, actually, Lokesh, you are asking about this Lucknow case. So the advocate of that girl is trying to prove that this girl is of unsound mind. So it's a simple exception in law that ma'am also said that if any person who is of unsound mind, then he will not be considered as a criminal. The reason is that in crime there are two elements. One is actus rea, second is mens rea. Okay, so mens rea means your mental element, that you know something, that you have knowledge of your consequences. What you are going to do, you know the consequence. That if you are going to shoot someone, then this person is going to die. This is your knowledge. Okay, then issue mens rea. Okay, issue plan. Then actus rea means you act upon that thing, that you trigger the this what you call this I mean you take a axe and you kill that person with the axe. Okay, so that is your actus rea. So you need to understand that all these are applicable for the sound mind, because once I said that mens rea and actus rea. So if mens rea is missing, then most probably that person will not be convicted. The reason is that person can say that I did not have the knowledge of my act, of my actions. Therefore, these people are trying so that that girl do not get the conviction. That is the one thing. Thank you.
I hope Lokesh, you've got your answer now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Now you've read about this. Now I'll just move ahead further for the next thing. Now, another very important part for any human conduct. This is again a very important element. That is the volitive element. That is, you are undertaking the action under your own free will. There is no sort of pressure on you, or you are not forced to do something. I'm sorry. So you're not forced to do something. So things like that. So this volitive element is another very important part of the voluntary or the free will action that we take. Now, if you see, now, we've already discussed about this thing, the mentally ill person, they do not have that free will. Fine. So they don't, because of their psychic compulsions. Fine. So they are not, whatever actions they undertake, they would not emanate as what free actions. So that is why they are not ethically or unethically wrong or right. So they're not judged basically. And also in the like mentioned here in the criminology also, they are not they are not judged for that. So there is so this is it. So we've already discussed most of it about volative element. Okay, so guys, we it is about like end of the session now. So these two things I will be continuing rest of the session in the next class. Rahul sir, can you please take this topic again about the unsound mind?
Okay. Tell me.
So there is a question by
have-
Mayuri.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question by Mayuri. She's saying that, sir, but
Yeah, I read Mayuri your question. So first, I want to tell you something. Say, for example, have you ever seen some drunk people? If you have seen, and then they don't behave the way they behave when they are sound minds. When I'm saying sound mind, it means that they are not intoxicated. All right. So what happens that in unsound mind you don't know the consequences of your action. आपने कभी you must have heard कि पागल है उससे दूर रहना. आप लोगों ने सुना है कि नहीं?
Yes, sir.
या सो होता क्या है कि दैट पागल डजंट नो, वो आपको मार सकता है बट ही डजंट नो कि आप मर जाओगे. ये उसके दिमाग में कभी एलिमेंट आता ही नहीं है. एक्चुअली क्राइम में क्या देखा जाता है कि आप अपने एकदम होशो हवास में हो. व्हेनेवर दे सी कि आप होशो हवास में हो, nothing is affecting you. So say for example, leave this unsound mind. Now what I do, I draw pistol on you and I say, go Mayuri, and I ask your friend. So for example, Mr. X is your friend and I ask him that I'll kill Mayuri if you don't go and kill that person. So will that person be considered guilty or not? Your friend Mr. X will be considered guilty or not? That is my question. No. He will not be guilty, obviously, because he was under the fear. He was under the influence of fear. Therefore, he killed. Same thing in unsound mind. Here, he was under the fear. In unsound mind, your mind doesn't work only. Your mind does not know what you are going to do. What will happen if you do something, right? That is the reason that those people who are unsound mind, if they are very much unsound, then we keep them in mental hospital. If those are very normal, then we still keep them away from the normal people because they don't know the consequence. So if this girl is beating that guy and the advocate is saying that this girl is unsound mind, so he's trying to say that this girl does not know that does not know the consequences. One thing. Second thing, for example, I can say that who is the do you think that if any sane person who will go and start beating anyone, do you think this thing? For example, Mr. X, who is a very sane person, okay, do you think that he'll go and from nowhere or suddenly start beating someone?
No, sir.
So who can beat? Those who have lost their mind, right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that's what he's trying to prove, that this girl has lost his mind. He's not this girl lost her senses. She lost her mind and she is not in her senses. Therefore, she's unsound mind and she should be given apology or whatever they are seeking. She should not be charged for these things. So that is the point. When you say,
okay, I guess this is much more clearer now that this volative element wherein you are like free to judge and you are not under any sort of influence, whether it is your mentally ill condition or if you're under any sort of drinks that you take, or fear or anxiety or passion. So that is where your volitive element would be clouded. Now with volitive element, we know that your sound mind is taking a knowledgeable action. You are free to take that. Okay, there is no sort of compulsion on it. So that is what we are referring here, that any human conduct has to have knowledge and also a volitive or a voluntariness in their conduct. Okay. See, Aniket, the sir was also mentioning that, if a person is of unsound, see, most of the people are not of unsound mind. There are certain people who under something, maybe some conditions in their life, or maybe some, issue with their brain, they turn out to be unsound mind. They do not have control over their emotions and their action. That is why they do it. So that is why some exceptions have been made in the law as well. It should not be considered as injustice also, because with the looks of it, we are seeing that somebody is beating the other guy and he's not doing anything. The girl is literally overpowering the other man. But consider it from the other point of view also. Like, the girl is of unsound mind. If I leave some pagal banda, okay, on you, I leave it on you, then he starts beating you or maybe talking trash with you. Would you consider? You would say, nahi, pagal hai, iski baat ka kya bura mane? Obviously, you might, start feeling angry about something, or, some other thing. But can you really file a complaint over that person? Then even if you do file a complaint, actions may not be taken, because that person is of unsound mind. And yes, if the actions are of very very next level actions are taken, in which there are some crimes are conducted, then that person is actually referred to mental asylums. It's not that that person can be left on the road to do anything. So that injustice is taken care of in this manner, then that person is actually sent to the asylum. Yes. Great. So yes, whenever we are, you analyzing a particular situation where you have to come at, some sort of an opinion, you have to end it like this particular case also. This is kind of a case study for you guys. Okay. So you have to have a very balanced view. You must look at both the points. Fine. You must have complete knowledge about it and then analyze it. So for today's, your task would be that you go back today, analyze this case. Okay. Find out, you have to first of all read what this case is, the girl's case, okay, that she's beating up the driver on the road, and there is a policeman also standing there, and still she's making something like that up, right? My first question to you all is, kindly make a note of it. What are the ethical issues involved in this case? Secondly, you being an officer standing on the road with both of them, what course of action would you guys take? Okay, so these are the two questions that you have to solve. The case study is based on it. Okay, so you do it, you submit it, and we are going to hold the next session in coming week. Fine, we will inform about it on the group itself. But we would also need your feedback about this ethics class that we have started. If you find it good and helpful, we would continue doing it. Fine, and we would be sharing a survey form with you, which you guys can fill up and share with us. Thank you so much for joining in today. I would be sharing the PPT with you all, and if you have any more queries, you can always get in touch with us through Telegram only. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend ahead, and all the best for your preparations. Thank you.
Thank you.